So the next myth that I want to debunk about these analog modeling plugins is the idea that if you just use one instance, that's not enough. You've got to use a whole bunch of different instances, and those little incremental changes add up, and across the whole session, when you're using 20, 30 instances of these analog modeling plugins, then it will completely transform your mix. And the difference of before with the stock plugins and after with these fancy analog modeling plugins is a night and day massive difference, because it really adds up all these incremental changes. So let's put it to the test in this video. So I went ahead and made two mixes. One is the analog modeling plugin mix, and one is the free/stock plugin mix. So for the analog modeling plugin one, I used 19 instances of the UAD Studer tape emulation plugin. So that's on every single audio track is a tape emulation from UAD. And then I've got the Lindell 80 channel plugin, which is a Neve emulation channel strip on every single track and 2 buses. So that's 21 instances of the Lindell 80 plugin. And then for every compressor that I'm using the UAD 1176 Blu-ray. And in total, there's 9 instances of the UAD 1176. So now for the boring digital mix, we're going to take all of that fancy stuff off and replace it just with the stock plugin in Reaper. Re-EQ is a cramping EQ. A lot of people hate on this plugin, think it sounds bad. So we're just going to be using that for the EQ. We're not going to use any saturation or distortion whatsoever in all of the mix. The only other thing that we're going to be using is my plugin, which is free and open source, AP Comp, for the compression. I've got one instance of TDR Nova on the backing vocals bus, and both mixes have Tau reverb, which is the free plate digital reverb, and redelay, which is just doing some slapback on the vocals. So this is the analog modeling mix. We've got the Studer tape machine emulation on pretty much everything. We have the 1176 from UAD on many things as well, 9 instances there. We've got the Lindell channel strip plugin on a whole bunch of things. Now this is the boring digital mix. As you can see, I'm just using Re-EQ, and I'm using my free compressor plugin, AP Comp. So that's the setup. Almost 50 analog modeling plugins on one mix, and 0 analog modeling plugins, just free digital plugins on the other mix. So if all of these changes add up, they should add up in a way that you can hear that after having almost 50 analog modeling plugins running through these Neve emulations and the Studer tape saturation, blah, 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 and the other mix has 0 saturation, it should be a night and day difference. It should be this incredible, massive difference that the plugin manufacturers describe in their marketing hype. So let's get the ball rolling. Let's first listen to the absolutely dry multi-track with no plugins on it to hear what that sounds like. Yep, it sounds like a complete mess, completely raw, completely unmixed. So we know for a fact we're actually doing a lot with these plugins. We're doing a lot, so we should hear massive differences between the two mixes. This is one of my own tracks, by the way. I'm playing everything and singing, so don't watch the vocals. I'm not a great singer. This is just something I recorded for fun 10 years ago now. But the point here isn't the music, it's the mixes, and we're now about to hear that amazing analog modeling sound that you just can't get from digital plugins, because it just sounds so warm and lush and amazing, like honey oozing out of your speakers. Now I'm going to leave a link down below to a poll that you can click on and vote which one you thought the analog modeling plugin was. And then in a future video, I'm going to reveal the results and see if people guessed correctly. So the question of what one you prefer the sound of is actually a different question to which one is the analog modeling mix, because you might prefer the digital mix actually. So click that link to the poll down below and vote, because that would be really interesting. You don't even need to sign in or anything like that, put in your email address, no. You just need to click it and vote, really simple, and we can see the results, and I'll reveal in a future video which was which. So there you go, the differences aren't really all that huge. I can hear a difference, especially if I tune into the snare drum or if I tune into the lead vocal. I'm able to hear very subtle differences, but the differences are quite subtle and they're not making or breaking the mix. The mixes, to an untrained ear, probably sound like the same mix. Some people might not even be able to hear the difference. If you've got decent speakers or decent high quality reference headphones and you're listening at decent level, you will be able to hear slight differences, but I don't think these differences are really worth much at all. But of the differences you can hear, let's say you thought one sounded slightly more open in the highs. Well, boosting 1 dB with the digital EQ is going to have a bigger effect than what happened here when I used 49 analog modeling plugins. So in my personal opinion, most of this stuff is just not really worth the money. Is it a scam? Is it snake oil? Not really, because it's not like the manufacturers are lying. They are attempting to model the hardware, and maybe they're doing a good job at modeling the hardware. I just don't think the difference is, if you know how to use the gear, using these analog modeling plugins isn't gonna make or break anything. You can get the same kind of result with them, without them, it doesn't really matter. In fact, it's just slowing me down. When I had to do the analog modeling mix with all of these Lindell Neve style EQs, using a skeuomorphic interface for EQs is just so slow and annoying to use. It's just frustrating having to click on the side of the knob to get the frequency or the mid. It's just so annoying. I just want to use FabFilter or something as a standard plugin. So the workflow aspect that so many people talk about in the comments is so much better just using standard digital tools and trying to use skeuomorphic interfaces for EQ and stuff. It's just so slow and annoying to use this stuff. And so let me know down below what you thought of these differences of the analog modeling plugins versus the digital plugins. I thought that was quite interesting. I actually expected to hear a bigger difference, and I was surprised at how small the difference actually was.